Good morning. It is Friday, and we'll talk about intensity. Intensity. So, what in the hell is intensity? It sounds like a simple enough term. Everybody's got a broad enough vocabulary that they have an understanding of what the word intensity means or embodies, definition. But as far as your training goes, how much thought do you give to intensity? To me, what intensity means is a successful, productive workout that's going to effectually stimulate the body to obtain or produce the physiological changes resultantly that I'm looking for. That's what intensity means to me in light of working out. There are so many different ways to accomplish intensity in your workout. We're talking about a particular level of intensity that you need to achieve, in my opinion. Otherwise, you're not going to prosper from that workout. Well, let me back that up. Anything that you do, without even second guessing yourself, anything that you do physical, any physical activity in which you engage from an exercise, maintenance, or perseverance standpoint as an investment is going to yield a good return. Anything you do is going to have a positive effect. That's my opinion. That's what I really think. Anything you do is going to have a positive effect. You don't want to, I'm not talking about crazy extremes now. I'm not talking about somebody that does something recklessly with wild abandon and the form is awful and you're using too much weight and all this kind of stuff. This is the line. You want to draw up to this line to where you have effectually provided enough intensity, trained with enough intensity, that the body is going to respond favorably from that workout. Now we're already assuming that everything else is in place. Good hydration, nutrition, rest, all these things are already in place, right? We're just talking about the actual workout. So that intensity, you want to push that, as far as I'm concerned, as far as you can go. You want to get as close as you can get to almost towing the line between a positive result and a disastrous result. A lot of people are going to disagree with that, but to me, that's the level of commitment and effort that it takes. Traditionally, when I've gone into the gym and when I initially set my sights on getting as muscular as possible, as big as possible, I pushed the boundary, pushed the envelope, and drew up, butted up against that line to where just a little bit more is going to have a disastrous result. As long as I can see how close I can get to that line, I know I'm going to have the most beneficial result from that workout humanly possible. And again, this is providing that everything else is in place, that I can recover from that. It's a full-time expenditure, or at least a full-time consideration. It doesn't require as much energy as the workout, but the rest of it, the remainder, is all done outside of the gym, and it just really needs to be part of your lifestyle. Just how you eat, when you eat, the rest that you get, hydration you provide, the nutrition that you, on a daily basis, feed your body. All of that has to just be, that's something that has to be ingrained and just become a way of life. Ideally. And again, things that may fall way short of that are still going to be beneficial. The guy that just, or gal, that just goes to the gym and just goes through, they used to call it the circuit, just goes through the basic machines, you know, the selectorized machines, not even the leverage machines, and they just do a little half an hour here or something like that. That's still beneficial. That's still beneficial. Do not despise small beginnings. And even if that's all that person does, that's beneficial, as opposed to if they didn't do that. It's beneficial. So I'm not slighting anybody's approach. I'm just trying to speak from my base of experience and living. Now here's where the problem comes in. When people get into a particular groove and they fail to realize that intensity can be achieved in many, many ways. Many, many ways. Basically, you just train harder than the workout prior. You just try, you try to deliver more stress than that which you previously delivered. However you get there, it's up to you. But if you're a guy like, you know, back in the day when lifting heavy was everything to me, not only being big, but being strong. Because my friends, my personal private circle was full of guys that were just super mad strong, and even gals. So what am I going to look like with all this muscle, or all the muscle I had then, more than this, and I can't literally pull my own weight? So strength was a big thing to me. And I lifted really heavy, and I got injured sometimes, and I've paid the cost of beating the living shit out of your body. And don't let people try to tell you that injuries result because of only poor form. That's not true. That's not true. Injuries result of a chronic abuse just as much as they do from poor form. And I'm going to tell you the truth. That's a fine line when you cross over, and you very easily, and the majority of us do cross over into the territory where we are abusing our bodies physically in the gym with what we do. Maybe not to the degree that you're going to experience an immediate injury, but the load, and especially if you're chasing numbers in poundages or kilos, you know, depending on what part of the world you're at, how you look at things. If you're chasing more and more weight, more and more strength, that's abuse. That's abuse. I'm not putting it down. I did it. I was there. And you know what? If I were physically in a position where I could do that today, practice that today, I'd still do that. Because I vastly enjoyed that. Immensely enjoyed that. But sometimes, and it's hard when you're young and you're right in the middle of it all, you know. But as you begin to slow down, you need to look at it that way. You know, there was a point in my life when my body didn't want to lift heavy anymore, and all I was doing was tearing myself up. The exact same weights that I could work out with on a weekly basis without any real difficulty. Heavy, strenuous, but without, you know, any question of doubt that I can hit those numbers. Those same exact weights with the same exact form. Almost overnight, it went from just being a standard thing for me, standard fare, to being something that had devastating results that hurt me. Things tore, things popped. Body just didn't want to do it anymore. And my belief has always been that that was largely brought about with the diminishing production of growth hormone as I aged, as I continued to age. And where that drops off below whatever that invisible line is, you know, where the other side of that line you're safe, and then the opposite side of that line something gives. Wherever that point is, it's different for every man. It's different for everybody. You know, there are cats that can lift 50 years old and go heavy without tearing shit up. And there are guys that are going to get into their 40s and start tearing shit up. I mean, like routinely, if you just don't take heed to what your body's telling you, if you don't respect the feedback, you will begin to tear your body apart, especially if you're not augmenting growth hormone, which I wasn't. I haven't. I'm not. And then I'm sure there are other hormones at play. There's so much we don't even really know. You know, it's arrogant for us to believe that we understand everything, even about our own bodies, because we don't. We don't. But there is that line, and every man will experience it if you stay in the game long enough. So when that occurred to me, when that happened, and I was a hardhead, I wouldn't accept just one injury and realize, okay, my training approach has to change. I had to have several back to back before it finally occurred to me that this isn't just a fluke or a one-off, something has changed in my body. And when that happened, I was depressed about it. I lost my desire and my passion and my lust, basically, for working out. And that is the period of time that I took 3 years away from working out. And that's when I discovered that after 3 years of inactivity, comparable inactivity, comparable to, you know, when you look at, you place it, juxtapose it alongside with what I was doing prior to that. Basically, it was 3 years of inactivity compared to that. You know, and when the resultant atrophy came after 3 years, I was feeling every single day of my age at that point, whereas I never felt those things before. And then I realized, well, you've done it now to your body and your frame and your skeletal structure and your underpinnings. You're going to have to retain and maintain at least a minimal amount of muscle mass to hold yourself together as you continue to march towards old age or slide towards old age, because if you don't, your quality of life's going to be shit. You're going to be all busted up and messed up. And that encouraged me to start lifting again. And that is why I finally accepted that, well, I can't go back to doing what I was doing, especially after 3 years off. So it's kind of like a rebirth. And I had to change my approach, modify how I did things, and my mentality, how I looked at it, how I viewed it, my strategy, and find other ways to get that psychological reward out of it that I once got through lifting mad amounts of weight, because that couldn't be anymore. And ever since then, you know, I have never been able, never really attempted to return to that mad heavy lifting, except just before all this COVID shit, I was starting to bench heavy again. And that, I knew I couldn't stay there forever. I was just trying to get there, and the route that I took, the method I used, the approach to bring that weight, you know, on that bar back up that I could handle, was totally different than the way I went about it the first time. Had to modify things, had to change things to account for my age and the wear and tear. So intensity. There's so many ways to achieve effective intensity that is going to stimulate the results that you're looking for, as far as muscularity, functionality, and you need to explore these alternatives and options as you age. You have to take your age into consideration. You truly do. You truly do. You know, if you go, like if I were to get up tomorrow and decide I'm going to start training the way I was training, you know, 12 years ago, 14 years ago, 15 years ago, I would very quickly probably cripple myself. Even if my strength improved and I could handle these weights, if I continued to do that and I was determined that this is now my norm again, oh yeah, I'm going to hit all those numbers again. If I was foolish enough to do that, believe that, I would end up really seriously hurting myself, much more than I ever have previously. But can I still generate enough intensity to maintain a reasonable amount of musculature? Yes, sure. A respectable amount of strength? Yeah, sure. Sure you can, but it has to be different. So that's the whole gist of this video, is that you don't want to destroy yourself, and it's uncalled for. You don't need to destroy yourself in your pursuit of your physical endeavors, and in the gym, and in the weight game. You don't want to destroy yourself. That's the opposite of what you're trying to do. You're not trying to diminish or destroy or ruin your quality of life. You're trying to positively affect your quality of life and enhance and improve your quality of life. I think that's a really important distinction. So if you're an older guy, proceed with caution. Go slowly. Feel it out. Do not despise small beginnings. Absolutely do not despise small beginnings. At the same time, don't let anybody place any limitations on you just because you're an older guy, because even the medical community will try to place ridiculous restrictions on what you're going to be able to do or what you should be doing. I would say use your own common sense and feel it out, but in the back of your mind, don't disown the fact that you are older and your body is different than it was when you were younger. And with that in mind, tread carefully. That's all. Tread carefully. Nothing has to happen overnight. It doesn't matter how quick you get your results. It doesn't matter. This is a lifelong and life-affirming process, because it's the whole intent, hopefully, for most people should be to enhance, maintain, but hopefully even enhance and improve your quality of life. That you're going to be in better physical condition than you started out. Or at least going to maintain and stave off most of the physical negative impact of old age, as much as you're capable. So I think that's the message here. The message here is intensity. How we achieve that. There's limitless, almost, it's damn near. I wouldn't want to have the challenge trying to sit down and list every single possible way I could go into the gym and achieve sufficient intensity to progress my body, my physique. It would be a fool's game, because there would be so many I would never be able to even sit and think of all the ways. So almost your imagination is almost the limit of your imagination is almost the limit of how many ways you can place that intensity on the body to be able to get it to do what you want it to do, to grow the way you want it to grow, to improve the way you want it to improve. And for the young man, the way that he approaches that is going to be, and it should be, very different than the way a 40-year-old guy does it, or a 50-year-old guy does it, or a 60-year-old guy does it, or a 70-year-old guy does it. And yes, we have brothers. I just communicated with one a couple weeks ago who's 74 years old and engages in so many various activities that his doctor actually sat him down and said to him, "What are you doing to stay this healthy, to maintain this physique?" And when the gentleman started to list off the things he does, boxing, swimming, running, just all these different things, weightlifting, the doctor actually said to him, even though the doctor was encouraged or incited to ask him about this because he was in such good physical condition, the doctor then went ahead and said, "Well, that seems like a whole lot for a guy your age. Most guys your age maybe could get by with just like some water aerobics, aqua aerobic type of exercise." So that's where the mentality is for older guys. They have this really diminished and low expectation. So I'm certainly not telling you to have a diminished and a lowered expectation. I'm telling you, reach for the moon, but maybe go there a little more slowly and a little more learned in your approach. Because reckless abandon will get anybody hurt, but youth is much more forgiving. So the way the younger guys do it and the way that I did it when I was younger, it's not the appropriate way to do it anymore. There are real physical changes that occur as you age. That's all. So, guys, take care. Have a wonderful day.